She called the cops on me on my own land, and 5 minutes later, she was the one in handcuffs. You ever meet someone who just can't live without control, who breathes rules the way the rest of us breathe air? That's Audrey Whitmore, the self-appointed queen of the Lakeside HOA. And I thought I'd left her behind forever, until that white SUV showed up on my dirt road. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind where the wind hums through the trees and you almost forget the world exists. I was fixing a loose board on my porch. Buddy snoring beside me when his head suddenly jerked up. Low growl, tires on gravel. I looked up and there it was, shiny white paint city tires grinding through red dust. And then she stepped out, same red lipstick, same helmet, tight hair, same damn clipboard. I swear my heart stopped for a second. Audrey Whitmore, the woman who once fined me because my kids drew chalk art on the sidewalk. She smiled like she owned the sun. "Well, Mark," she said, "what a surprise." I didn't answer, just wiped my hands on my jeans and stared. Her eyes scanned my barn, the chickens, the old tractor, like she was inspecting for violations. "You've been busy," she said. "This structure seems awfully close to the county line. And those animals, do you have a permit?" I almost laughed. "This is private land, Audrey. You don't have any say out here." She tilted her head, that little predator smile creeping back. "Oh, you'd be surprised how far our influence reaches." That was when I knew she hadn't come for a friendly visit. She pulled out her phone, started taking pictures of my mailbox, my barn, even the dog. "You think you can run from responsibility?" "Mark," she said. "I ran from control," I told her. But she was already dialing 911. I heard her say the words like poison. "Yes, I'd like to report a property violation and possible animal neglect." I froze. She was really doing it. Out here, miles from her HOA kingdom, she was calling the cops on me. I told her to leave, but she snapped her fingers at me like I was a child. "Don't you raise your voice at me," she said. I could feel the old anger rising, the same helpless, burning frustration she used to stir up back in Lakeside. Then the sirens came. 3 SUVs roaring up the drive, lights flashing, chickens scattering. I leaned against the railing and waited. Audrey stood there proud as ever, pointing at me. "There he is, officer. That's the man violating the law." One cop approached, trying not to look confused. "Sir, we received a complaint about zoning and animal mistreatment." I looked down at Buddy, wagging his tail like the happiest mutt on earth. "Does he look mistreated to you?" The officer cracked a smile before catching himself. Audrey glared at him. "He's mocking authority," she snapped. Then another officer stepped forward from the truck's arms crossed, sunglasses on. I knew that stance. My stomach dropped. "Dad," he said. The world stopped. Audrey's mouth fell open. "He's your father." "My son." Sergeant Daniel Marks nodded slowly. "Ma'am, is that true? You made this call?" She stuttered, suddenly unsure of herself. He cut her off. "Why are you on his property?" For the first time in her life, Audrey Whitmore had no answer. I just stood there watching the whole thing turn inside out. The woman who ruled my old neighborhood with a pin and a glare was now the one trembling. Daniel's voice was calm, but sharp enough to cut glass. "Ma'am, step away from the property line." She tried to keep her composure. "I'm just enforcing community standards," he said. "There is no community out here." Her face cracked like porcelain. Still, she couldn't stop. "You can't protect him because he's your father," she yelled. "He's breaking the rules on purpose." My son sighed, patience gone. "Ma'am, you're trespassing and you filed a false report. You need to stop talking." She didn't. She pointed that clipboard at me like it was a weapon. "You think you can run from me, Mark? From the rules?" Something inside me shifted. Years ago, that voice could paralyze me. Now, it just sounded small. "I didn't run from you," I said quietly. "I just stopped letting you matter." Daniel's cuffs clicked. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." Her laugh broke halfway through. When the cuffs tightened around her wrists, the laughter died. Watching her get loaded into that cruiser should have felt satisfying, and it did for a heartbeat, but beneath it was something else. Pity, maybe. Because in her eyes, I didn't see anger anymore. I saw fear, fear of being powerless. And that's the thing about people like Audrey. Control isn't just a habit, it's an addiction. That night after the dust settled, I sat on my porch under the quiet sky. For the first time in years, I thought maybe I was finally free. But the next morning there was a note taped to my mailbox. Neat handwriting, perfect margins. Some rules can't be escaped, only broken. No signature. My hands went cold. Over the next few days, I started finding more. A photo of my barn taken at night. A piece of old HOA paperwork slipped under my door with my name highlighted, unapproved exterior paint. I called Daniel. He told me she'd made bail. That's when the paranoia started. Every noise outside felt like footsteps. Every car light across the fields made my pulse jump. I told myself I was being crazy, but deep down I knew Audrey wasn't done, and maybe she wasn't alone. One evening I found a plastic tag nailed to my fence. Inspection Zone 4A. I tore it down, but there were 5 more. I felt like I was living inside one of their stupid rule books again. That's when I broke. Sat on the steps and just laughed. The kind of laugh that comes out when you've got nothing left. Maybe she was right. Maybe you can't outrun rules. Maybe freedom's just an illusion. Then Buddy barked sharp and low. I looked up, saw headlights down the road. The same SUV idling by the trees. I felt the fear crawl up my spine, and that's when I decided I was done being scared. I called Daniel, told him everything. He came fast, found footprints, small ones. Women's boots, he said, recent. The next night she came back. I saw her through the fog, standing by my fence, clipboard in hand, like a ghost that refused to rest. "Thought you could hide forever," she said. Voice calm, too calm. I stepped closer. "You need help, Audrey. This has gone too far." She smiled. "Far no mark. This is justice. You broke the covenant when you painted that barn blue." My son's truck roared down the road, lights slicing through the dark. She turned toward the woods, but he was faster. "Hands where I can see them," he shouted. She froze, then lifted her chin with that same defiance. Even as he cuffed her again, she whispered to me, "You can't arrest the rules, Mark. They live in everyone who believes in them." And just like that, she was gone back into the system she once worshipped. But her words stuck. Because maybe she was right. Maybe rules never die, they just wait for someone new to believe in them. Weeks passed. The so-called Lakeside Board was dismantled, dozens arrested. Daniel told me the HOA was officially dissolved. Freedom on paper, at least. But one morning a truck pulled up. A man in a gray suit stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Daniels," he said politely, "I represent the Lakeside Property Restoration Fund." He offered me a form community reintegration 5-year compliance oversight. I laughed in his face. "You people don't quit." He smiled thinly. "Order doesn't quit, sir. It adapts." That night I built a fire in the pit and burned the form until it curled into ash. Then I picked up a can of red paint and wrote across my barn in big, uneven letters. No rules, no board, no queen. The words looked ugly as sin, but for once ugly felt like freedom. When headlights passed on the road, I didn't hide. I stood tall, let them see me, the barn, the words. The car stopped for a heartbeat, then drove off into the dark. That pause told me everything they knew. I wasn't the kind of man you could manage anymore. I don't know if Audrey's still behind bars. I don't care, because people like her don't just disappear. They recruit, they rename, they rebrand. But they all crumble the same way the moment someone stops obeying. And that's the lesson I learned standing under those country stars, watching the paint dry and the smoke drift away. Freedom doesn't need permission. It just needs you to stop believing in the people who think they can grant it.